Welcome to Australian Hunger. I am your host Ben. On today's show, I had a conversation with Mark from Blind Girls, a Gold Coast band, screamo band, I guess you'd call them. I think there's a little bit more going on there, but yeah, definitely fall within that category. So that coming up in a little bit. But for the moment, let me get something off my chest. Monday was April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, and all the media companies, because they're apparently not doing anything else, they're bored, thought it was really important to do April Fools and do lame shit like write pointless articles which no one's surprised by. So various metal news websites had articles, joke headlines and articles which said that the new Tool album was 37 minutes of crickets, or Slayer was cancelling retirement plans, or Joey Jordison was rejoining Slipknot. And it's fucking lame. Stop doing it. This isn't just the metal news websites, it's all the news websites. Like, if no one is fooled, because everyone knows that media companies release stupid shit on April 1st, if no one's fooled, then what's the point? The point of a prank is to fool someone. So if the person isn't surprised, it's not a prank, it's pointless. The only exception to this is Metal Archives. They can do no wrong. I say that because they generally have an approach which is at least mildly interesting. They changed their website on April 1st to the Good Metal Archives, and that included about 600 bands, which was interesting because I think it sort of says something. It says a few things. It says that a lot of the bands in the Metal Archives are, not good, or no one cares about, and that's fine. That's just the nature of the thing. But also it says something interesting about the fact that, you can kind of list the bands you like. And it was an interesting experience to go through some of their pages and say, hang on, is some of the bands I like on there? It's just it's something interesting. It gave you something to do. They're not under the impression that anyone's fooled by this, but the experience at least has some sort of, it occupies you at least for a period of time. It doesn't just make you groan, which the rest of them did. So I talked to Mark Rant, the bassist for Gold Coast band Blind Girls. Their album Residue is out now. They're going to be touring in support of Pagan. Actually, I've talked to Pagan twice in the past, but so they'll be playing in Melbourne on the 19th of April, Geelong on the 20th, Brisbane on the 26th, Gold Coast on the 27th, Byron Bay on the 28th, Wollongong on the 2nd, Sydney on the 4th, and they're also going to be playing another show in Canberra on the 3rd. The songs I played during the interview are Breaths, Exertion, and Discarded Picture. This is Mark Grant from Blind Girls. Let's go back to the start. When did the band begin? How did the band begin?
The band started with myself and Ben Smith, who's on drums, and Liam Criz, who's on guitar. We all went to like high school together, but so after that we'd be doing just like regular like hardcore bands. So in about 2013 we started probably Blind Girls around then. Just made like a demo at first and then did a few shows. We had quite a few lineup changes as well, but yeah, pretty much just around 2013 we started out.
Now, one of the things that kind of interested me, sort of going back to the earlier material and then sort of perusing some stuff, is that you initially were a 4-piece. Talk a little bit about how you became a 5-piece and why.
Well, just as the 4-piece, we had our friend Shani who was wanting to start like a screamo band, and we figured it would be kind of the same members in that anyway. And I think Ben just had the thought of maybe just getting her to join. So then, no one out of the original like four of us, no one like left. We just added Shani on as vocalist. It was just we just thought it was a good idea, I guess, and I think it's working out. So
Now, I was trying to nail this down, but it can be a little bit difficult. Who exactly was the vocalist for the first three EPs? I think it was.
Oh yeah, all good. Well, on the for Efflorescence, it was all Liam. He was the main vocalist. Liam Kriz. So he was playing guitar and doing vocals for Efflorescence and the He Who Swallowed the Bloom 7, and then the Sans Visage split as well.
Where'd the name of the band come from, Blind Girls?
It was just one that I'd written down. We had a big list. I can't really remember how it came about, honestly. I think we liked the band like Some Girls, and I thought that's like a cool band. I thought that was a good name, and then that was just one on a list that we had, and then we're kind of struggling to like find a name. That was just the one we just went with, I guess. So
you released a split with Sans Visage from Japan. How did you hook up with those guys?
Well, Shani, before she was in the band, she went over to Japan just on like a holiday. She really likes it over there, and then she went to a few shows, and I think she just met like-minded people that were into like screamo and stuff, and ran into them. And then she also met someone who was ran like a distro or like it's kind of like a promoter, and he was just putting on shows over there. And so Shani showed them like Blind Girls and stuff, and was like, wanted us to come over for originally just like a show, and we thought, we'll just go over for like a holiday. But then they ended up sorting like a whole tour. So I was just meeting through some of the friends that Shani made when she was on holiday in Japan.
That's really, really exciting. That's really cool.
We're very fond of them. Like, they're great friends of ours. That the first tour that we did in 2015 with them was just amazing.
So this album, you released a few EPs, The Split. When did you start working on this particular record?
Oh, it did take a little while. I think after we finished, so I think it was 2017 was the Sans Visage split. So we had the tour, and I think we spent about a year and a half maybe writing, and about a year and a half. And so just writing and recording. We had a few of us playing other bands as well, so that could have been another thing that kind of made it take a little while. But so about a year and a half. So probably mid or early 2018 we started really cracking down on writing. Yeah.
So in general, how did you approach this album? It was sort of a bigger album than you'd previously done.
Yeah.
How did you approach that? Why did you choose to say, go the sort of full length with this one?
Oh, I guess we thought it was time. It made sense, time to do, I guess, something a bit bigger, and I guess push ourselves to just create the like a bigger batch of songs rather than just doing another 7 or another split. It really made sense to do an album this time. I guess timing. And I mean, if we wanted to do something serious that would last, and to me, like just a 7-inch or like an EP would feel kind of just like disposable. I feel like this would really kind of, I guess, in a way make our mark. And it's, of course, it's like for every band, it's like you got to have an album. So it's like a goal.
Now, talk a little bit about how the band actually sort of puts together this material.
Well, normally Ben or Julian they're pretty proficient with coming with ideas for it. So normally, Ben's a fantastic drummer, and he will normally come in, we'll meet up for like a jam, and he will have like just it might be like one initial part, or a way to get out of that part. And it's kind of, then we just kind of work out that part, then work out a way to maybe get out of that, or if there's a way to come into it. So it's basically just normally it's either Julian or Ben that will have like a riff or a drum part, and then sometimes like Liam as well. So it's just the first initial part that would be brought in, and then the band kind of just jams over it and kind of really hones in on each specific instrument or part to really make it all link together and fit together and gel. Because it's quite a lot. I guess there's quite a lot going on, so there's a lot of like everything's kind of under the microscope and really worked on quite hard in detail to make sure it all fits and has a specific sound.
And that's kind of interesting, to sort of expanding on a drum part. Because usually, basically, whenever I talk to someone, they're like, I have a riff, or someone in the band has a riff, and then we go from there. Talk a little bit how it works getting from a drum part to a fuller song.
For me, when Ben's playing, I like to be able to see him while he plays as well. So I guess, he's right in front of me when I'm playing, so I can see when if he's hitting like his, like a certain symbol, like a ride or like his crash, that's when I'll play a specific note, and that's kind of how we might make a fill or something. But I think we're quite a rhythmic band. So it's, if everything wasn't gelling, it would just sound like a fucking complete mess. So it's really working around Ben, and what Ben's doing is, I think that's what makes the songs be able to be pushed pretty hard and be extreme music. I think when bands have like a good drummer, they're able to really make extreme stuff.
So sort of pushing that forward a little bit more. In terms of you specifically and your bass parts of the song, how does that work for you? You sort of mentioned a little bit about your approach, but expand on that a little bit more. How do you kind of approach that? What role do you feel you sort of fulfill within the landscape of a song?
I guess with bass, it's trying to make a part, my bass part, I'd like it to, if it can bring some emotion to the part, I look for that. And if the part can be my riff, if it could make the part resolve, or sometimes I have to keep it simple. I wouldn't say I'm someone that would like to be shredding over it, but kind of I'd like to think that it can bring an emotion, and just maybe to not cloud everything up too much. I think to really kind of keep it, to lock it down, I guess, I guess it's like typical for bass, but to hold it down, I guess, is a thing as well. But when I can, I guess, do like a cool fill or something. But just to make the song move and the parts to link as well, I think I focus on.
so one of the songs that sort of stuck out to me is Visitant, being an instrumental song. I'm not sure if you've had instrumental songs before.
Yeah.
If you can talk about that one in particular.
Well, that was Ben played that the snare intro thing, and I can't remember whether he wanted it to be a complete song or anything like that, or become. I think it was just something we had. I don't think we just thought it sounded. I think it just sounded cool as just what it was. It didn't seem like it needed to build up into like a blast beat bit or something like that. I just think sometimes we do occasionally have little like instrumental parts, but this is the first. I guess it's the first proper instrumental song that will have like a name and its own track and everything. I just think it's just a link and kind of a break from just the regular kind of sounds from our songs.
Sort of in the way that, that instrumental part can play a role in a song, it sort of plays that way in the album.
Yeah.
This is kind of a silly question, but like I think it's kind of interesting. So you guys play generally short songs, less than 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the nature of the music. But like, what kind of attracts you to, I don't know, that kind of music or that kind of approach to this music that makes you guys sort of feel like, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, we're good. We've fulfilled the role of that song. Yeah,
I think you can get a lot. You can get a lot done within 3 minutes, and I think we've always liked like grindcore bands and power violence bands as well. So I guess it's kind of similar to that. I wouldn't probably personally like to listen to a screamo song that goes for longer than 3 minutes. I can't really think of many bands that I listen to or am a fan of that have songs that go for that. I guess it's just a stylistic thing. I think structurally it'll just end up being like that anyway. Like it needs to be. It will always just be under like 3 minutes anyway. If we just have little like parts, we're not like a chorus verse chorus band or anything like that. I guess so. Like structures and things like that don't really apply. But it's just when we feel if we feel like a part's boring, or something, or like we're kind of just trimming the fat and getting the point across quicker. So.
One thing that's kind of interesting as well, the fact that you haven't been the main vocalist, I found really interesting, because the next question I'm going to ask, you've received lyrical credits for, I think it was at least the last EP, or maybe the split it was, and you also were lyrical credits as well as Shani for the album. Talk a little bit about why you've taken that role.
I think maybe I just had things I wanted to write about. It wasn't necessarily. I was just Ben and myself before Shani joined were the main lyric writers for it. I guess we were just. I personally felt comfortable with writing lyrics for the band, as I do enjoy writing lyrics. I know, I guess I was just the one that was doing it.
How do you go about, I know, especially with this music kind of being like personal sort of way, how do you go about writing that for someone else?
I guess it is, they are personal songs, but we're a band of very close friends. We've all known each other since we were teenagers, essentially. Like, I don't want the songs to be limited to just my. I want it to be open for other people to like interpret or whatever, but I do have my own like meanings, or like when I read the lyrics that I've created, I know what it's about and stuff and specifically, and I remember everything. But um, I think Liam was. I was capable of writing lyrics, and Liam was capable of playing guitar and doing the vocals. So that's why he was doing the vocal role.
In sort of more generally, how do you approach the lyrics? Like, what is your process? What kind of things are you interested in? Where are you drawing it from?
I guess they're quite introspective songs, and I guess it's from um, social kind of things within my own interactions with people that I have relationships with, or I guess it's a lot of introspective things, and like looking back on just experiences that I've had through life. I wouldn't say we're not like a political band or anything. With my writing process of creating lyrics, I'll try and make like one line, and then base a song around that, and then try and reference it later in the song to link everything together. We write the lyrics separately to the songs as well. So we just, at the end, once we have the music recorded, we just look at what lyrics we have and then place it to the song.
That's interesting. How do you go about linking them up?
Once everything's recorded, we just have it. Each of us will have the lyrics on a bit of paper or on our phones, and then we'll sit there listening to it and kind of. Sometimes we'll have Shani we'll hit record and just be like, I try whatever, and then just let the recording roll. And if she does anything that's cool, we'll just be like, oh yeah, thumbs up, that was good. Or if we really need to kind of all get together and really work it out, we'll kind of just talk the words over the song while we listen to it to get the phrasing and stuff like that. And then I guess like maybe add lines if something's missing, or delete lines. But then if we have there's a bit of editing why we have to do it. So there is some, I guess, like adding to lines adding to the song's lyrics on the spot while we're trying to place it to the song.
So you recorded and mixed with your guitarist Liam. Talk a little bit about how that went. Was that kind of I imagine because he has his own studio, I think he does.
Yeah. He's been recording bands. I think pretty much since 2014, I think, or 2015. We did drums out in a recording studio in Murwillumbah. Just like did two days on drums out there, and then everything else was done at Liam's recording studio, which is in Currumbin. It's really great having someone in the band that really knows how to record. It really helps when we're creating. Our jam space could be at Liam, so we'll actually be writing where we're going to be recording and practicing the songs where we're recording, which is really, really good. I think Liam's really good at what he does. He's a fantastic engineer, and he's the only person I've ever worked with recording, and like I said, it helps the band a lot not having to pay someone else to record our songs or record our music. It's just Liam's just the guy for it because he's in the band. So
definitely. Now, why did you choose the particular title?
There were I think some of the songs, in particular the ones that Shani has written, they have some themes of like, I think she said like maybe sleep paralysis stuff, and there's a lot of things that are maybe about like dreams and things like that. And I think there's a line in one of the songs. I can't remember the full line, but I think it just says residue of dreams. And I think Ben we'll trying to come up with a like the album name by like reading the lyrics and trying to find something that sticks out or try and think of something. But that was just that word seemed to really fit in with the lyrics and everything.
Ben, your drummer, did the artwork. Talk a little bit about that process and what you guys were aiming for.
I've heard him talk about this before. I think he wanted to do something that was simple, but not simple, but not too simple, but captivating. He may have said, and I think he just sourced the image from. I think there's a website that he uses for like free images, and then he normally will edit an image, and so it just fits in with like the cover. He won't just copy the thing; he'll kind of tweak it and things like that.
Moving on to you guys playing live, we mentioned at the top of the show the numerous shows you're doing. A little bit about like that experience for you.
Like the shows that we recently done, like the tour that we just did for the album.
Yeah.
Or our tour, yeah. Well, our tour that we done just like last week, we did them split over the weekends. That was really fun. I think we had been about a year or so without touring. So just touring after the album being out that was a good experience. I think the crowds were a bit bigger this time, and we still had people that, like our friends that always will come out and see us. The Melbourne show in particular at the Borough was probably the hottest show we've ever played. I think, I don't know, when we were in Melbourne, it might have been like 30 degrees at night, and the floor was it was like a puddle of sweat. It was pretty gross. But that was a pretty memorable show. That was fun. And Sydney, just last weekend, was quite good. I really enjoyed that show. It was a good tour. I'm glad that we're keeping busy, and we've got that tour next month as well with Pagan.
So this is sort of me. I don't know, maybe I've missed it, or maybe the information is out there. I was wondering, are you in Empress, or is that one of the other members of the band?
No, that is Julian and Ben. That's and our drummer, and then Julian, our guitarist. That's our other band. Yeah.
All right, my bad. Cut that question.
Oh, you can. I'm close friends with them. If you want to ask anything, I might not, but
no, I was going to have a general like, hey, you're in this other band. Talk a little bit about it. But that's all right. That's right.
Yeah, I'd still like to, promote them whenever I can, because they're an excellent band. Like Liam recorded the new album that's coming out, and for them, and they have a great lineup. They're fantastic musicians, and I think that the album that they're coming out is sounding really good. The recording's finished, and I think it's just getting mixed and mastered at the moment. But that should be a very good release.
What is the scene like in the Gold Coast? I don't think I've interviewed too many bands from the Gold Coast.
For in kind of the late 2000s, it was really good. I would almost say it was, to me, it might have been the best. I think it could have been the best scene in Australia. It was pretty solid. Shows like Shed 5 and Expressive Grounds in the in the late 2000s, like 2008 to 2010. Gold Coast was excellent for music. Now, probably the last 3 or 4 years, it had just been shocking. It was just dead. There weren't many bands because there wasn't like a venue or anything to play for hardcore bands or bands that sound like us. But now it's a bit better for us. There's a venue called Vinnie's at Southport, which is just putting on good shows, and it's a small capacity venue, so that's kind of been a saving thing for it. I think there's always been little like bands around and stuff, but I think at the moment within the kind of circle of friends that will play music at Ben's Shed, that's really bringing out good music. Like there's live band Blind Girls, and there's Empress, and then there's also Sam Haven. Those, I think that's kind of the main people involved in Gold Coast music at the moment.
I want to finish off with a couple of more personal questions about you.
Sure.
When did you kind of get into this broad category of music?
Well, I grew up going to shows at, I think around 2008 when I was still in high school, just at like going to shows like Byron Bay and like Shed 5 and Expressive Grounds on the Gold Coast. I had always listened to like punk bands. I kind of got into punk music from like skateboarding movies and like surfing movies and like the Tony Hawk games. They were pretty key in getting like my first kind of taste on like punk music and things like that. And then when I was in high school, I found out that there was just shows at Byron Bay and the Gold Coast from a friend. And I guess with the internet coming in, it made it accessible to find independent music in the late 2000s. Yeah.
When did you start playing bass, and why did you stick with it?
I originally started playing just guitar at school. I wasn't very good. I didn't have lessons or anything, but when I started kind of actually listening to music, I noticed, I think I just heard like a riff in a song, and it was the bass riff, and that stuck out to me. And I think I just asked my friend, "Oh, is that what guitar is that? Is that bass?" And then they said, "Yeah, that's." Just when I noticed it, I thought it was a cool sound. And to me, when I started playing bass, it just seemed it was just easier, and I just gravitated to that role, I guess. I've never played guitar, but bass just seems to be for me.
Do you have any bands or projects that you're involved with?
I'm writing some music by myself at the moment, and just yesterday I had my new band that I'm doing, which is kind of like post-punk sounding, kind of like Interpol and the Blitz record, Second Empire Justice, and kind of like the Cure Pornography album. That's kind of the sound I kind of want to make. So we just had our first band practice for that yesterday. But Blind Girls has always been my main band, and that's just been my main band.
And final question: are there any? Is there any things you're listening to, reading, watching lately?
Um, in terms of screamo music, I really like the new Ghost Spirit and Frail Hands split. Um, some music that my friend Nick has shown me. I can't remember the name. But I recently finished watching the new Motley Crue movie, The Dirt, which was it was pretty good. It was a bit cheesy, but it was pretty cool, pretty extreme. I don't think I'm reading anything at the moment. But the Motley Crue movie was pretty cool.
That was Discarded Pictures. Before that, we heard Exertion, and the first song was Breaths, all from the album Residue by Blind Girls. Thanks again for Mark for chatting to me. Before I leave you, I want to give a recommendation. This is a new one, this is an old one, but one of kind of my all-time, I don't know, it's difficult to say favourites because there's so many albums, but kind of one of the all-time albums that kind of sticks in my head. And it came back into my head this week, which is why I'm going to recommend it. There was a band called Genghis Tron back in the mid to late 2000s. Unfortunately, they haven't released anything since the album I'm going to recommend to you, but I think it's a good one. So they came from this sort of weird novelty scene. There are a couple that just kind of cropped up. It was called Cybergrind, and it was basically electronic drums, very poorly synthesized electronic guitars. I guess you could say it was grindcore, but not really. It really lacked that punk hardcore spirit. It was more just screaming to obnoxious, shitty, whatever the person kind of made, which was short, which I guess was why they called it grind. But one of the bands which is sort of vaguely part of this scene, I would kind of consider them a cybergrind band, but really they're so far above the rest of them, it kind of doesn't apply to them, with Genghis Tron, because they saw that and they took the approach of electronics and grindcore or power violence or whatever kind of short musical moniker you want to apply to it. And they actually made it really interesting, including, all kind of different influences, including some doom, some IDM, drawing influence from various kind of electronic genres, singing, screaming, melodious synthesizers, harsh guitars, all that sort of stuff. I think it really makes for an incredible album, and I'm very sad that they haven't released one since. Who knows if they could, follow up appropriately, but it would have been nice to hear them try. But regardless, Poured Up the House, I recommend you check it out. As always, you can catch me on social media, Oz Hunger, that's AUS Hunger, on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and you can send me an email, australianhunger@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, if you're interested in an interview, maybe we can set something up. That's all I've got for this week. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you next week. Bye.